Can a machine be an artist? Can an algorithm have a muse? These aren't sci-fi questions anymore, not at all. Today, we're going to break down what creativity really is, how AI is learning to master it, and what it means for, well, all of us.
Okay, let's start with a number. $432,500. Back in 2018, this is what someone paid for a piece of art at a major auction. We're talking Christie's here. So, yeah, a pretty big deal.
But here's the kicker. The artist behind this painting, it wasn't a person. It was an AI algorithm. And when that gavel came down, it sent this shockwave through the art world to the tech world, and it made everyone ask, what does it even mean to create something new?
So that sale, and a ton of others like it, really forced this huge question out into the open. When a machine makes a piece of art or writes a song, is it actually being creative? Or is it just a really, really good mimic, just mashing up patterns it's already seen?
All right, so before we can even figure out if AI is creative, we got to back up and ask something even bigger. What is creativity in the first place? And believe me, the answer is probably a lot more specific than you think.
Well, psychologists have a pretty standard definition for this, and it works for art, it works for science. It really boils down to three things. The work has to be novel, so new. It's got to be valuable, meaning it's useful or has some worth. And it has to be surprising. It has to have that unexpected twist.
And this is where we see the big split. Human creativity, that comes from the inside out, right? It's our memories, our feelings, our intentions. But AI, that's an outside-in job. It digs through these enormous libraries of stuff that we've made, finds the patterns, and just calculates the most likely next thing. It's the difference between, say, messy intuition and just straight-up mathematical recombination.
Okay, so how does this whole pattern recombination thing actually work? Let's pop the hood and look at three of the most common ways it happens, using some really cool analogies to make sense of it. First up, you've got something called GANs. The easiest way to think about this is like a forger and a detective. One AI, the generator, is trying to create a perfect fake. The other AI, the discriminator, is trying to spot it. They go back and forth, locked in this constant battle, and the forger just gets better and better and better until its work is pretty much indistinguishable from the real thing. Next, we have VAEs, which are kind of like a dreamer. Imagine an AI that doesn't just copy things, but learns the essence of them. It creates this abstract, compressed map of ideas, almost like a subconscious. And then it can pull from that map to dream up brand new things that are totally original, but still make sense.
And finally, we've got diffusion models, and this analogy is my favorite. Think of a sculptor looking at a big block of marble. The AI starts with something similar, just a screen full of random noise, pure static. And then, bit by bit, it carves away the noise, refining and shaping it until a clear, coherent image emerges from the chaos. It's pretty amazing to watch.
Okay, so now we have a sense of how the machine creates. But what happens when that art, or that music, leaves the computer and enters our world? Well, this is where things get really fascinating, and honestly, really complicated, especially when it comes to things like ownership, the law, and even the value of human skill itself.
Which brings us to this massive legal and philosophical headache that right now courts and copyright offices are totally wrestling with. Think about it. If you type in a prompt, but the machine does all the heavy lifting to create the image, who's the author? Is it you? Is it the company that made the AI? Or is it nobody?
And for now, believe it or not, the law is pretty clear on this. It says copyright requires a human author. So if a piece of art is made entirely by an AI, it can't be copyrighted. And that creates this bizarre situation where you have a painting that can sell for a fortune, but legally, technically, nobody owns it. And the paradoxes just keep coming. Check this out. One study found that when you give AI tools to writers, the ones who scored lowest on creativity tests actually got the biggest boost. Their scores shot up. But the writers who were already super creative, they barely saw change. So it seems like AI is a great equalizer, kind of leveling the playing field for creativity.
But that leads to a really critical question, doesn't it? If AI helps everyone become more creative individually, what does that do to our culture as a whole? There's this worry, this social dilemma, that if we all start using the exact same super powerful tool, does all our work start to look the same? Do we become more generic?
So, where does that leave us? Well, the general thinking is that this isn't really a story about humans being replaced. It's a story about collaboration. The future of creativity probably isn't human versus machine, but human with machine. Think of it this way.
As AI gets better and better at all the formulaic, predictable stuff, it actually raises the bar for us humans. It takes care of the grunt work, which frees us up and, frankly, forces us to focus on the things an algorithm just can't do. You know, true originality, emotional depth, and maybe, most importantly, the why behind the work.
This means the whole idea of what a creator is, it's changing. Your raw technical skill might matter less than your vision. The people who really succeed will be the ones who can guide these powerful tools with a unique point of view, who aren't afraid of a messy human process, and who can bring that crucial context and emotional intelligence that a machine just doesn't have.
So, in the end, maybe creative AI isn't the threat we thought it was. Maybe it's the biggest catalyst for human creativity we've seen in 100 years. It kind of leaves us with this one final, really exciting question. The machine has mastered the formula. So, what are we going to create now that we're free from it?